Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. It is Markets in the Morning. Let's go. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Welcome to Markets in the Morning. Today is Monday, December 18th. 2023. This is Markets in the Morning, where we take a look at the price action of the Bitcoin price chart, the altcoin market. We take a peek over there at the stock market that's about to open up in 4 minutes, so we can get an idea of what our day is looking like as we head into the holidays, pretty much. But really, more importantly, as we start off our week, one of the last weeks of 2023 right here. Of course, we'll peek over there at the U.S. dollar currency index. We'll peek over there at precious metals, gold, the works, and then we'll take a peek over there at the financial news as we start out the week, and we'll take a look over there at any type of crypto news that seems to be important in there. I didn't see anything really standing out to me as of yet in regards to news. Price action, we're just starting the new week. So of course we had price action throughout the weekend. We saw some, pretty tame market throughout the weekend, except you did see some like crazy pumps happening out there. I think I saw like ICP pump 60% on Saturday. Some other stuff like osmosis and stuff like that was having it, and it was kind of more selective on a few different things pumping throughout the weekend. And then of course last week, like just kind of came out of nowhere, whatever bonk was, got listed on Coinbase and topped. I've been pulling back ever since that ended up happening, but boy, that thing came out of nowhere. I think it did like 176x in 2 months, and then gets listed on Coinbase, and everybody buys it after it's 176x did. But 'tis the name of the game in crypto and how it tends to go. Epic news marks tops. Yeah, when everybody's crying and whining, it's typically the time to be buying. But anyway, as we get ready to kick off the week, a little bit of a flush here to start out the morning. I think I looked at it. It was like $250 million in leveraged liquidations had taken place in the last 24 hours. You can see Bitcoin now at 41,400, slightly in the green. The market's coming back a little bit. Actually, overnight, it really kind of got pushed down quite a bit, but now it's starting to bounce back up in here. But you can see Bitcoin sitting at 41,400, still following along. All of this stuff, so nothing has broken in here yet. One of these things we've always looked at has been this 2014 through 2016 stuff. And then, the most recent one, we're right at that time where that bigger flush to the downside happens. It'd be nice just from a time perspective to kind of keep on marching forward and avoid something like that. Of course, I think we would all cheer for that not to be the case. I have already recorded a lot of the video. It's still in editing this morning. It's going to be like a 25-30 minute video that will be released today, maybe later this morning after Markets in the Morning. Just trying to do a little housework here before we jump into everything really quick. This is a shorter week. This is a 3-day week for me. I announced it 2 weeks ago. My Christmas break runs from December 21st through December 26th. So we will be here today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. Then I will be off Thursday through Tuesday, right? Is it Thursday through Monday? Thursday through Tuesday, and back the following Wednesday. So I'll be off the 21st through the 26th. And I wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Whatever you celebrate, we celebrate Christmas here. But that'll be what's going on with me. So this will be a shorter week. Of course, last week, I didn't put out a video last week, so I didn't announce it in a video last week, but you guys caught it in Market in the Morning. I put out the doozy of a newsletter on Friday, 32-minute audio recording in here, compiling everything that we've been doing for the last several newsletters in regards to the altcoins and comparing percentage drawdowns, developer activity, inflation, circulating supply inflation, all those different things to try to craft in a case study. What could you have done to craft a portfolio in 2018 through 2021 to perform better than the market average, significantly better, and then using a case study to apply that towards what would those coins today be based on the percentage drawdowns we have, the inflation as it stands today, and the development activity. If we applied those same things from 2020 to craft one of the best portfolios, how would you apply that towards 2023, 2024? That was released on Friday. That's there on blockchainbacker.substack.com. And that was really the big project of mine last week. But okay, there we go. I think we got it. Christmas break, newsletter. I think we're good to go. All right. Bitcoin, $41,400. Stock market, are you open yet? Yes, you have now opened in here. The Dow Jones is up 35 points. The NASDAQ is up 20 points, and the S&P is up 11. So we're slightly up, a little bit of a mixed board over here. You can see NVIDIA, Meta, and Netflix leading the way. Losers are Coinbase, Apple, and Ford. Precious metals, you got gold up $4 and you've got silver up 2 cents. So pretty flat over here for metals as well. You got the DXY down 0.15 here, or 0.15% to start out the day. So DXY, again, had that big flush last week, like we talked about in crashing structures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Rolls back up to wave 4 within wave 5. Waited on that patiently last week. And then, of course, during the Fed meeting, we got the flush. So this would mark in crashing structures that we're now building the true base happening in here for the DXY that typically rolls back up, sideways, and then continues back up again. So we'll keep our eyes on that. The big news, of course, last week, of course, was that we got the Dow Jones Industrial Average to break into the new all-time high. This, of course, is coming when the Fed announces that they're going to be doing interest rate cuts in 2024. So, of course, the perception out there in the market is that we are going to be turned into a rampaging bull market because the Fed is going to cut rates. I've talked about that a lot over the years, or year and a half, and talked a lot about it last week in a longer video that was put out. It's going to be mentioned again in today's video. Once again, things that we've been looking at when it comes to the stock market. First of all, we'll say this, right? We know how far away we are from the 4.236 extension on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Since the bottom of the great financial crisis to where we are now, we've risen over 450%. The Dow Jones is 5% away from the 4.236 extension. So that's always in the back of the head, right? This is playing with fire on the, like if you have a 20-year outlook on the Dow and you're like, I'm playing with the last 5%, good luck to you. Good luck. But you know where we are in regards to all of this. But the things that, I've been trying to craft, my thought process on, hold on one second, I'm going to get this set up first. Craft my thought process on, what does the next 6 months look like, right? In regards to crypto and in regards to broader markets and everything. So one thing we've watched a lot through over the last 6 to 12 months has just been higher highs and higher lows, right? This one obviously just massive highs, massive lows happening in here to create lots of confusion on how wonky this one was in here compared to how much tighter we were back in here, pre-great financial crisis. But the things that, and I'm going to show it in today's videos because we're going to be looking at market caps of altcoins and how far into this we are. That even with where we are at right now on a lot of these altcoins, it was the next 4 months in 2020. It was the next 4 months from here, well, where the market just completely rampaged, right? And then before we knew it, it was all over. And, crafting that thesis, integrating in this stuff in which the perception is if the Fed starts cutting, it becomes this massively bullish situation. When we've been looking back at this is what we spent a lot of time talking about in here in 2023 with how it went during rate cuts and how we had gotten back into retracement levels on the Dow Jones Industrial Average and then just washing machined all around them. But during the pausing period of the Fed being paused, that is where we went into the breakout happening in here. And then, it's shortly thereafter where the rate cuts began. This is where things actually start turning over. And so you do actually end up getting 1, 2, 2 to 3 rate cuts in here, that it still stays here and then rolls itself over. And we saw something very similar during C19, right? Back in 2019, we started seeing a couple of rate cuts there at the end of the year. And then the market did exactly this exact same thing where it shoots off into the all-time high during the pause and then eventually rolls over and hits the fan. So it's hard to think that we're going to do something different. As retail does believe, they think that the rate cuts are going to start off and kick off a whole new bull market for the entire world. But it does say that, like if you did something like this, right, like how much time does it buy you? You could say, well, it buys you to at least like the first rate cut, right? Somewhere between the first and second or third rate cut, right? And so that essentially, if you applied that thought process, that buys you to somewhere between March 20th and May 1st, something like that. So you could just call it April, right? To give you kind of a ballpark idea on how much time you'd have until everything hits the fan. And this is going to be the perception here on this channel. If you need someone to go tell you the ETF is going to be the biggest thing to impact the price of Bitcoin, it's not going to happen here at all. And you know, the thought process of where we are in all of this is just kind of how it's always been acted. It's always acted that we go into these pauses and we break out. But either way, I'll show this in the video today that I'm putting out, that, you know, if it buys you enough time to get you to March to April, are we acting similar to that now as we did to back then, in regards to how, let's see if we can fit this on here. In regards to how this market is acting right now and reacting to how we did in the past, and how much time it took for things to ramp up and rampage their way up in there. And these markers that you see right in here are these markers right in here that we have from 2020 and from 2023. And do we have enough time for something to rampage and go nuts for 3 to 4 months in here? And surprisingly enough, we do actually have enough time, based on how quickly everything moved and everything went chaotic and wild back in 2020 and 2021 when we did all of this stuff. It buys us enough time that you have 3 to 4 months of price action to act really wild, and that is how much time we have in here. But at the same time, that points to, we're all playing with fire, we're all dancing with it like crazy, and the big misconception is going to be what comes as this thing gets real close to a 4.236 extension. There's going to be a lot of screaming saying, this isn't the top, this isn't the top, this isn't the top. Maybe it won't be, but this is the thesis that I'm going to be playing with here on this channel. So you could choose not to like that. You could choose to move on from that and not to think that's stupid. That's completely fine. There's plenty of places that will totally feed your biases that you need. But this is going to be the thesis we're working with here on this channel, is that we're playing with fire. We're near the very end of the stock market, that we are, the Fed potentially starting the cuts could give us a window, potentially gives us this window of time to look forward to say, this is about how much time we have. And does the market have enough time for something like that to play out? And it does. And so that's what we're going to be watching here on this channel and paying attention to, that, you know, there's potentially 4 months of epic, 4 months of epic. But scary to think what after that, right? You know, you can interpret however you want and however your favorite content creator on the internet tells you that the Fed exiting the pause period is positive. You could do that all you want, but it's actually acting like it always does, in that it escapes the range during the pause, and then when the cuts come, S hits the fan. But what it would say is that, you know, if we have that much time, we have potentially 3 to 4 to 5 months for the market to absolutely go ballistic. And we have seen that happen before. But then when it's all sudden, it's over before it's done. It's over before you know it. And we know that the herd isn't here yet. We know that the retail herd isn't here yet. They always come at the end. They always come pouring in at the end. And it'll likely be when Cramer finally comes on TV and says, buy Bitcoin. But yeah, so we'll talk all about that stuff in today's video. But, you know, those are the things that I spent, you know, of course, on the weekend while I'm not working. I'm not coming onto YouTube and posting on Twitter and stuff like that. And I still sit around, and if the kids are taking a nap and my wife's off running an errand, I don't mind running into my office and just charting around and playing around and stuff. And these are things that I started kind of putting the pieces of the puzzle together in here to say, you know, how much time do I think we really have, right? And it really seems that, you know, if you're going to go based off rate cuts, and that the Fed actually is giving you a clue when things are going to hit the fan, kind of like how they banned themselves from owning stocks just months before everything turned over. You know, if they're giving you a clue in here that these cuts will come and these cuts will end up being the markers of the end, what will retail do? Retail will perceive that as it's the start of the beginning, and retail's always wrong, right? So keep your eyes on that. But we definitely know that's not the case. When the cuts come, that's the clock ticking of end game happening in there. So we'll watch that. I mean, you can look right here. Here's a big cutting cycle. Why aren't we bullish? Why did we go that way? Why did we go that way? What about this one? Right. You get to break in the all-time high. We start cutting, and oh no, what happened? Right. That's just kind of how it ends up going. So this will be our thesis moving forward for the next 4 months, unless something drastic changes and we have to view it in a different way. But this kind of seems to be the case at this point. This right in here, right, and this also leads back to the NDXT. What we've been talking about for the last several months as well, that this is a distribution structure. And we don't know if it's going to look like that. This is common, but this is also common in Bitcoin that it has this style of behavior in here, which we saw this in 2018, and now we saw it here in 2021 in regards to like this lower high, or this high and then this higher high. We don't know if it'll be a higher high then a lower high first. We'll have to kind of keep our eyes on that, watch for curveballs at the time. But this is definitely what distribution looks like. It even consolidated all right in here before getting that breakout to happen right in there, right? So probably, it's not going to be all clear-cut, straight line up stuff. There'll be another push, but this will be kind of where all action can take place. And even there's enough time in here. There's like 90 to 100 days. If you were to mark that point and kind of have equal ratios on there, 90 to 100 days between here to here for something similar like that happening over here right now. So I do think it's like an exciting time in the market, but it's overhung with this like just that, you know what I mean? Like I don't know how do you like say, hey, this is really exciting because this is where like euphoria and wrong footing happens. This is where everybody goes gig along at, and that usually pushes prices up really high. But it also wrong foots everybody. So it's a good and bad thing at the same time. You know what I mean? If you follow what I'm saying. But yeah, so that's kind of where we're at, and we'll talk about these things in today's video. But otherwise, for today, it seems like we're kind of recovering here a little bit from the chaos that happened. Really, I guess overnight, it looks like things are really starting to kind of rally back here a little bit. Moving on, XRP, of course, the ranging context, just ranges by. I always say it ranges by design or chaotic by design. Just look how madness it's been in here. Everybody, you're looking for a trend, right? So people want to see, hey, show me a trend, and you can just see it as washed each direction over and over again. Ups, downs, ups, trash price action happening in here. Still, it has yet to come back and back test these levels. Otherwise, we just have to wait for range boundaries to get hit for XRP, or else we're just gonna try to make sense out of ranging context happening in here. But yeah, lowest price there since we've seen back on November 22nd, so about a month in there. We went down and sloshed into it today. We'll see if that ends up being a hold. But as for me, having a strong opinion on it until it gets to a range context in here. A lot of this reminds me, just you look over there on Twitter, you see the sentiment of XRP, because we've seen a lot of stuff moving up big time. Right? You've seen AVAX, Solana, ICP, Osmosis, name them. What other ones have been moving up big? I don't know, there's a lot. TIA and whatnot. It reminds me a lot of just being back here in this stuff right back in here before everything really got going. And I've told that story many times of how negative the sentiment was in here, even though we were seeing a lot of bullish action in the rest of the market, how depressed and toxic it was in here. I don't know if it's that level again, but I bet if we did see like lower 50s, we probably would. But either way, the things that we look for that are of importance for XRP's price appreciation throughout all of history are things like this, to see Bitcoin up, to see things like the altcoin market shifting up. These are all the things you look for. The fantasy storytelling stuff has never impacted price. It's always been what's going on in the rest of the market. And so we've got the positive things in the market. We're still just waiting on on good old XRP to go on and do something in there. But definitely lots of movement throughout the altcoin market. It looks like a little bit of a recovery here to start off the day, so we'll take it. As for the DXY, we already covered this, right? That thing has just been in Goblin Town. And I think we've really kind of covered it on how we're looking as we head into the holidays. My thoughts are we've got a few months of fun. Again, I know a lot of people want to know, is Bitcoin going to set a new all-time high? I remain super indifferent on Bitcoin. It's been totally about retracement levels for me. You're welcome to chase whatever percentages you're chasing on there. It's not of any interest to me for Bitcoin at this point. It's been fun to get back up to these levels, but it's not really of interest for me for Bitcoin. And I just don't see it, right? You'd have to literally play this thing out perfectly for it to happen currently. And even in doing so, something like that, just percentage-wise wouldn't be of interest to me. But yeah, so either way, there you go. Love Bitcoin. There you go. There you go. We know, try to lay out the bigger context thought process that we're all going through right now, at least what I'll be portraying on my channel. And you're welcome to decide if that's of interest for you to continue watching or not. If you are an ETF fanboy, that is your call. But or if you're a Fed fanboy that you think that rate cuts are good, that's your call. You can look at the data or not. That's up to you. And that's why it's pretty wild, right? Like we all have this data. We all have it. We can all see what happens when rate cuts happen. Like we all know. But why the narrative is that when we start cutting rates, it means we're starting a new bull market. It's bizarre. But what we've always said is the pause period is good. The pause period is good, but it is just astonishing that still to this day, even really, really big names say, the Fed is about to start cutting. This is going to trigger the biggest bull run in history. Where are you getting that from? Where are you finding that? Because I don't see it. But okay, I digress. All right, we'll move on. Bitcoin, 41,600, an improvement from this morning. It was done like 40,500. So it's bounced $1,000 this morning. So a nice little recovery over there in Bitcoin and over there in the crypto market. Stock market is up this morning, right? We are up 73 points for the Dow Jones. You're up 25 for the NASDAQ, and you're up 15 for the S&P. So about 0.25% overall between the indexes to combine together. Leaders this morning, Coinbase flipping into the green. Started out the day red and overnight in the red. Coinbase now with crypto bouncing. Coinbase sits in the green up there with Netflix and Meta. Losers are Apple, United Health, and Microsoft. Metals still looking a little bit unchanged. Looks like silver's back to flat. Gold's up $2. DXY 102.46. So not a huge change there. So yeah, I don't think there's any like drastic change that has happened here in the market. We're still just moving and humming along as we were last week. And I think things look good on broader context. I think it's about just having that bigger outlook at this point, that now that the Fed has signaled the rate cuts are coming, and now we get to the opportunity to say, all right, the clock is ticking. So what can happen and how much time do we have? And so we'll talk about that in today's video. So, all right. Ottawa Frank says, does a 4 month of Epic include a violent 50 to 70% drop in altcoins? Of course it does. Definitely. Okay. News. What's going on? Financial media, what do you want me to think today? Oil major BP becomes latest to pause Red Sea shipments with global supply chain in focus. Oh no! Looks like we're supposed to start getting worried about oil now. Japan Nippon Steel to buy U.S. Steel in $14.9 billion deal. Stock features rise after major averages rally for 7 consecutive weeks. BP to pause all tankers. Here we go. Hey, why aren't they still talking about Bitcoin on the front? Remember that? Bitcoin hits $42,000. Everybody buy. It's going to 500K. All right, documents reveal hidden problems at Russia's nuclear powerhouse. U.S. stock futures waver amid rates pushback. Look, this is telling us the story, right? Just focus on this. Don't listen to any of that crap. 90% probability we're still paused in January. 66% probability we finally cut in March. That's where we stand right now. These numbers will ever evolve. We have a long time. We still have 44 days till the next Fed meeting in January, and then like that one, next one comes up after that, right? So, whatever. Goldman strategists lift S&P forecast after a month after setting it. So they lifted a month after setting it. Okay. Everybody's mega bull. Navigating this bull market. Oh, that's interesting terms to use. Those are interesting words. Okay, inherently bearish below 41.5K. 5 things to know about Bitcoin this week. Okay, well, it's at 41.6 now, so I wonder if this just got ruined. FTX loses $53,000 every hour on bankruptcy fees. Bitcoin fees hit 20-month highs. Miner revenues match 69K. Well, how much does it cost to do a Bitcoin transaction right now? Bitcoin transaction fee. It costs $38.43 to send a Bitcoin right now. This is I'm gonna go buy a cup of coffee today with my Bitcoin. Who wants some Bitcoin coffee? $48. Crazy. $38 to send Bitcoin. All right. I'll show you that. This is from Y Charts. Okay. That is how much it costs. Let's go throughout history. It has not been this high since April of 2021. Which again, just another thing that shows the top of the Bitcoin bull run was in April of 2021 and not November. This proves it. Right. April of 2021, back in here. Let's go back even further. Can we do 10 years? Please let me do 10. No, it doesn't go back to before December of 2018 on Y charts. Max? Nope, you won't show it. So either way, just to get an idea of how high the Bitcoin transaction fees are right now in relation to the last 5 years from Y charts. There you go. Expensive. That's expensive. Yeah, but don't you understand? I could send $5 billion to India and only pay $38 to do it. Yeah, but what about the guy sending $100? Yeah, well, he's priced out, but okay. Okay. There you go. Crazy. There you go. BlackRock revises Bitcoin ETF filing, El Salvador's crypto citizenship trending, and more. Navigating this bull market and securing profit will be tougher than it seems. So they say we're in a bull market right now. Do you only get into a bull market when the prices are getting euphoric, or does that mean that it started a long time ago when the market bottomed? How about that? Okay. Bitcoin hovers over 41K as a meme coin Ordinal's frenzy clogs up the blockchains. Longs continue to get liquidated as the price of Bitcoin and other major digital assets gyrate. Yeah. That's the thing about latecomers, man. They come in and they just freaking leverage, man, and get themselves wiped out. And all it takes is one guy who gets lucky to post something where he made a killing, and it gets a bunch of other people to jump in and do this leverage stuff and just get completely swiped. Bonks surge send prices of Solana Saga phone flying to 2K. The sealed and unopened phone boxes contain an airdrop of 30 million Bonk tokens, which has seemingly revived dismal Saga sales. How about that? So there you go. Bonk. Dang, man, that stinks because I loaded up on Dink and Bink, but totally bypassed Bonk. I'm just kidding. Okay. I still got it. I gotta be a jerk. I hope that you guys are doing well. So as we start off the day, a little bit of bounce over here in the market to get the day off going. Overnight, it was a little bit more of a red-filled screen over here, but things are improving as the day gets kicked off. Stock market, how are you looking? Looks like you're taking back some of those gains. The Dow's up only a point now. The S&P's up 12, and the NASDAQ is up 42. Still, Coinbase up there. Let's see. Coinbase top 4 now. Netflix, Meta, and Amazon losers. Apple, United Health, and Microsoft. We got metals mixed to flat with the dollar still just kind of chilling down in here. But otherwise, we kind of talked about bigger picture stuff. I'll have a bigger video coming out today, but it doesn't look like there's anything chaotic going on out there in markets today. Just another day of keeping on. And as the Dow is in the all-time high still currently right now. But again, we just in the beginning of this video really talked more, or live stream talked a whole lot more about, just bigger picture perspective stuff on where we are right now. This is still classic price behavior of being during a pause. And does that buy us time for crazy? It does. But we'll just have to kind of take it a day at a time, right? If you're looking for you're going to make all your riches today in one green candle, you're probably a leverage player. But if we look at it from like a 4-month perspective, things are looking pretty good. And that's what today's video will be about. Okay. Otherwise, guys, it's the holidays. I don't know about you, man. I'm just ready to eat really bad. I'm ready to just lay on the couch. I'm ready to watch A Christmas Story. I'm ready to watch The Cat in the Hat knows a lot about Christmas. I'm ready to fish. I'm ready to be cold. I'm ready to totally dive into the Christmas holiday spirit because there's no other time of the year that is like this time of the year. And it's we're so close. So again, I'll be here for 3 days. I'll be here Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I'm going to try to get videos out during that time period too. But of course, we'll be here for markets in the morning. And I do believe I have a Twitter Spaces or an X Spaces with the Genfinity guys on Wednesday. That'll be around noon, I think. I don't know the exact time. I'll get that for you as we get closer to Wednesday. And then it will be off to spend time with my family as they're on their holiday break as well. So yeah. Otherwise, market's looking okay. The grind along continues in here, and we'll keep our eyes on it throughout the week unless anything crazy changes. But during the holidays, I do take that time off, guys, and that's why I'll tell you about it ahead of time and talk about it for months leading up to it, and then locked in the dates with you guys 2 weeks ago. So. Of course, it's a great time to catch up on all these newsletters if you haven't, just to get an understanding of how this market has been very different. This has been, I'd say, the 2 projects I worked on in 2023, the 2 major projects were, of course, the rebuild of the entire bcbacker.com with over 40 videos. And then the side project was understanding the differences between our markets between 2021 and 2017 and really locking that down of what were those differences in there. And this kind of hit the conclusion point of it. This was, here it is. These were the things that mattered. And it all started by going to consensus earlier in this year and just a snowball of diving into data all year, concludes here with this thing created on Friday. So you can check that out on blockchainbacker.substack.com. Otherwise, we're going to keep it pretty light, tight, and bright in markets in the morning for the next 3 days as we get ready to go into the holidays. So that's probably it for today morning at 35 minutes. I'll go ahead and hop into the chat. And then, guys, we'll get on our way, and I'll get there to finishing my video. Randy Lester said, great work, and thank you for all that you do, sir, with the super chat. Thank you very much, sir. Joseph Black says, BCB, you have taught me to look for confluences on near the breakdown level from April of 2022 happens to sit right at the 702 level. It's a big move. Or is it only wishful thinking that it can go that high? Much love. So near has high inflation. I do not like, let me see if I still have the file open. Let me see. Inflation. Okay, so it's not like at that cutoff level, but it's pretty high. It's 20.61% inflation. So I would look at the market cap of that one too, because of its impacts of inflation. But thank you, Joseph. Diago Padriera, tinfoil hat question. What do you expect the news to be if the Dow Jones Industrial Average crashes like the Great Depression? I'm worried we could head to World War III, but maybe I'm overthinking. Thanks for all you do. One, any type of black swan is a completely unpredictable event. So if there is a black swan, it's totally not predictable. You just can't be guessed. It starts with simple stuff like this. A Red Sea shipment gets blocked and blah, 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 blah. It just turns into something. But another way to think about it is that I've talked that I find it very unlikely it'll be like this. I find it very unlikely that what we'll see is a complete and utter meltdown of 3 years and things just completely and utterly fall apart. That what I think is my guess is that it's a whole lot more like what we saw with Bitcoin and what we saw with Ethereum. And that, what we noticed with crypto in here is the exact same thing the general public did in here. Just admit it's a bear market. Bitcoin's not going to new all-time highs. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Then here they become raging bulls. What we saw with the entire world is the most Googled for recession. The world completely believed, all retail investors believed we're going into a recession right in here. And then the market goes to the upside. So what's going to happen is that at least what we have observed is that, in bull markets, okay. Retail investors get shooken out in the dip. They know they're supposed to buy the dip, and then finally they buy the dip. But that's not the one. That's when everything has actually hit the fan. And so this was kind of like this big dip that happens in here, and they've learned their lesson. I'm not going to get shooken out on the dip anymore. I'm not going to get knocked out anymore. So any new dips that come after that, I'm just going to always believe we're going to go into a bull run. And that's exactly what happened in here, is that everybody got shooken out in here, right? They buy back up, right? Everybody gets shooken out in here. They buy back up, and then the whole way down thinking Bitcoin's going to go into a new all-time high again. And that's how I could imagine this actually playing out. And that's just in this type of distribution, the kind that we're seeing in here is that typically this is a new bull market. None of this matters. The 4.236 extension, it doesn't mean anything. You're a dingus. You don't know anything. It's not stopping there. Then it falls back. Then it still is buy the dip. Buy that dip. Buy it. No, you buy it. You buy that dip. No, you buy that dip. And then it loses itself. So I'm not gonna bet that it's actually gonna be a lights out event. I just really, really, really doubt it because of the distribution style that we've done. the topping style that we've done, so long as this is topping, which is how I'm treating it. But you don't know. And like with these things here, for example, the financial crisis, this doesn't become a crisis till way here, right? This doesn't become a crisis till way later. So it's not like you're actually, it's incredibly unlikely. I just think it's incredibly unlikely we're going to go hit the 4.236 extension and then go straight line down. It would be way more likely that we spend time up here and where the retail, which we've already seen it. I've seen it over there on Twitter. Like the measurements of retail bullishness right now are through the roof on the stock market. The highest levels ever seen in history. Retail is so incredibly bullish because they have apparently solved the puzzle of the Fed. Apparently. But give enough time for distribution. Give enough time for bigger pockets to really unload on retail. Is how I think it would be. And give them lots of time to really unload on retail while retail is still believing the thing is going to go way up. It could come with a black swan, right? But again, trying to predict the black swan, the chances are less than 1%. But could there be one? Sure. But I can't lose sleep over it. Like, in the event that there are things like that, if there's things like World War III or something like that, your problems are much bigger than the stock market. You know what I mean? Your problems are way bigger. Your problems then become keeping electricity in your house, having clean drinking water, and that kind of stuff. Living. So, hard to predict what the narrative will be. Ottawa, thank you, Diago. Ottawa Frank says, do 4 months of Epic include the violent 50 to 70% drop in alts and total market caps to retest the previous range? Man, that would be a hard call to make. Would that still be your base case? I mean, you can go just look at things how they played out, right? Just look at Ethereum Classic was a good one because it goes a full 4.236 extension, right? Like there's 120 days before it hits its peak. 120 days. Along that route of climbing 2,400%, there's one 56% correction. There's a 52% correction. There's a 49er. Like, to think that there's not going to be massive corrections in a short amount of time, there would be, if that ends up being the case. There just would be. Do not think for a half of a second you're going to go in a straight line and you're not going to get washed out in washing machines. You will. Thank you, Ottawa Frank. I kind of touched on it when it came through. I saw it and then gave you a better answer. Dominic Ruffram. And starting Dominic Ruffran. I'm starting to see bigger accounts on X taking your content and calling for 48 to 50 Bitcoin, then back to 30. Does that worry you? It's becoming a normal sentiment. No, I mean, content gets stolen over the time. And the thing is, I don't post a lot on Twitter. Like, I just don't care. Like, Twitter is such a toxic cesspool that I give it very little of my content. So it's expected it's going to get stolen and pushed over there. Because I don't really like to give my content away too much in-depth stuff over there on Twitter. As for people stealing my stuff, it's happened since day one. It's not like how much energy I would have to put into it to fight against people stealing my content. How much I would have to like let it ruffle my feathers. It's one of those things I have to let it go. It's a fight I can't fight. And that's just the reality of it. I know it's a fight I can't fight, and so I don't work. There's certain things like. You have to know that in life, this is just a good life lesson. There's certain things within your control and certain things out of your control. That's one of those things I have come to acceptance in life. It's out of my control that people will steal my content. And so for that, I can't let it completely, frustrate me. I mean, that's really it. The worst part is when they steal your content and then they talk trash about you. I'm like, dude, you watch my stuff and you steal my content and you talk trash. What? But that's that's very far and in between. But yeah, otherwise it's just a normal part. Every day, that's been since day one. That's since day one. But as for normal sentiment, sentiment flips on a dime. I mean, it flips on a dime. 2 months ago, the sentiment was we're going way down. 2 months ago, sentiment was we're plowing. We're plowing. 2 weeks ago, sentiment was this train's never stopping. This train's never stopping. You're selling your Bitcoin BCB? Idiot! Dummy! Now, I don't know. The sentiment will always flip on a dime. I'm not too concerned about it. What will happen is retail will not sell the top. Retail will be euphoric at the top. They will buy the top. They will sell the bottoms. It will never change. It will never change. As long as we can realize that it still hasn't changed. We just watched it 2 months ago. It hasn't changed. They all did it. They're going to do it again. They're going to do it again. I don't see retail strongly either way. But I think the biggest thing is retail is the low alpha group is really holding on to that Bitcoin ETF thing. We haven't seen this story before. We didn't actually go through this in 2019 and 2020, which we did. We went through the whole ETF stuff. The SEC is notorious to delay things. The SEC's Gary Gensler's one of the worst human beings in the world. What do you really think it's going to happen here? Even if he does give you the ETF, you don't think he's going to do it in a manner that'll hurt you and help banks. He's not going to do it to benefit retail. When has Gary Gensler done a single thing to benefit retail investors? It is always to harm them. So come on. Yeah. Tell me how you really feel, blockchain backer. So I don't think there's anything retail euphoric. The biggest concern was, if you're this mega super, the fact that Bloomberg was telling you to buy Bitcoin at 42K and telling you it's going to 500,000. We really mocked that at that time of wow, it's just like 2021 when I'm selling my Bitcoin, then Elon Musk is buying. You get it right here on the front page, 42K. And then they have another article later today, $500,000 per Bitcoin. It's right when I'm selling my Bitcoin. It's wow. You can't time it to happen any better the way it does at technical levels that they do it at. But I don't see anything. Nothing concerns me about people stealing my content because that's just the way the world works. I was assuming people will eventually find where it came from. They'll eventually find me, and that's just the way it works. And I live my life like that. But as for sentiment and people believing in 48 to 50, you have to understand we haven't gone there yet. If we get there, if we get to $48,000 to $52,000 or in that level, sentiment will be nuts. You don't get there and get to a peak and then everybody sells together. It doesn't work like that. You get to a peak and everybody says this time is different, and you don't know what the news will be at that time. A lot of times at peaks, we'll get super crazy news, super awesome news, where it's there's no way this is the top because this is the biggest bullish news we could ever look for. And then to just remind you, remember what marked the bottom. FTX collapsing marked the bottom, right? The worst news, horrible bad news marks bottoms. Euphoric good news marks tops. And people will forget that. And so kind of waiting for that to all unfold, right? Something euphoric and all that stuff. And the Fed cutting rates, man. Retail totally thinks this is the bullish thing. They totally are convinced this is what makes markets go YOLO, is when the Fed starts cutting rates. But I don't know why they can't look at a chart and look through history and see what happens when they cut rates. But they don't. They think big major accounts post this. They post that we're starting crazy when we start cutting. I don't know. But that would be the thing. That's probably the bigger news. The beginning of the rate cuts and the Fed doing the true pivot, right? Because we haven't had that yet. All we've had is the Fed pause. The Fed announced that, hey, we're looking like we're going to pivot in 2024. And then we're waiting for today we pivot. And then the news erupts, retail erupts, they go nuts. The Fed has pivoted. The hiking cycle is over. Credit conditions are going to loosen. Borrowing, spending, craziness is about to begin all over now, right? So we haven't gotten to that. That's probably going to be pretty euphoric for some reason, but it will. So, yeah. All right. Thank you, Dominic. Das Burke, longtime lurker, second time chatter. Crypto Eddie turned me on to your page in mid 2018. I've never had an addiction until you started markets in the morning. Now weekends take too long. Merry Christmas. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Markets in the morning got off to a rough start. It was like people liked it, people didn't like it. You know, there's probably still lots of people who it's just not their jam. It's not their thing. That's okay. These things, you know, between the people who watch and the rewatches, they only get 15 to 20,000 views compared to my other stuff that gets like 30 to 45. But that's okay because I like doing it. So it's fun. And I've heard that a lot, that people enjoy it, and especially people who didn't like it in the beginning, who eventually turned on to it. Maybe it took more time to get more loosey-goosey and kind of goofball-y. And then maybe that's what it took. But thank you very much. Brandon Hammond, what are you personally going to do with top 10 developer coins when they reach their 702? Is it a case-by-case basis on the percentage you will take off the table, or will it be based on broader markets? Right. So I have a whole portfolio that I'm planning on reducing, but you know, top dev coins, those get cut much less than the other ones, right? But there'll be a bigger cut of anything, no matter what, right? Whether or not they reach their own like fib extensions, those get cut no matter what, or if we're seeing it throughout over there on the market caps. Like the biggest telltale sign that we have seen in past markets, right, guys? Like this is just what has happened. Like the thing that would be alarming. It's total 3. Is when we're seeing daily time frame stuff like this, where Bitcoin goes and sets a new low on the daily time frame. And when Bitcoin is in its 702 retracement, the altcoin market continued another leg up. That is an alarming sign to watch out for, that no matter, because what we saw in 2021 was only 22% of the top 100 had anything meaningful. Only 22%. So we're going to have to assume there's some percentage that's just not going to have anything meaningful, right? Happen here in 2023 to 2024. This is going to have to assume it. So at what point, like, is there some other signal in the market of like run for the hills? These are the run for the hills. Like at any point you go into 702 and the market continues, because we saw that here as well, right? That Bitcoin sets new low on daily time frame and into 702. Altcoin market continues up one more big leg. So that will be like the really big telltale sign that there's some huge leg that has happened in here without, right? So this leg right here with Bitcoin, did the altcoin market go do some big new leg without Bitcoin? Did Bitcoin like break down into a new low, but only go into a retrace and the altcoin market rampaged up? No, it didn't. But if we saw that, it becomes just a different story. It becomes, you know, OS, right? So no, but like even when we get to the point, like I've thought about this too, like even when we get to the point of where it's like, okay, I'm fully convinced this is the end, and I'm actually shorting, right? Because I have some small hedges in the market on Microsoft and on Apple, but I haven't done like my this is the end short on the US stock market, right? But like whenever that day comes it's that thought of, okay, well, what is your crypto portfolio going to look like in that moment where you think this is the end of the world, right? And like narrowing down the bucket of assets and getting it much smaller than what it is in regards to number of assets that you own. And it probably is going to be heavily focused on implementing these things. And like I've even shared with you guys, bringing sentiment on and all that stuff. Dev activity really, really seems to be the bucket to pay attention to. And that's probably where, I'll be isolated into. But it's a good question, Brandon. It's kind of a mix of both. Like, I mean, with Chainlink, like that's a top 10 dev coin and it fired way up. I took some off the table, right? Amy says, can you paint the picture of how a day-to-day life would be during a Great Depression? Also, what effect does this have on the UK? Thanks for, I don't know what's going to look like, guys. I don't know. I'm just showing you what a chart looks like. I'm showing you what. Oh man, really? I lost it? No, we're good. We're good. I'm just showing you the extension to which we traveled to last time. You could imagine like if you did it with like Bitcoin or Ethereum, maybe this could be just a slow grind down for many years, many years, and not something aggressive. If it did something like this, just go read books on the Great Depression and see what it was like. The difference is they didn't have like insane dependence on electricity and air conditioning and iPhones and tablets and PCs and internet like we do now. What would life imagine life without cell phones anymore? All of us. There are some trolls out there who would not know how to live their life anymore. Like it is their dedicated life. But most of us too, right? Like my wife and I were talking about the other day, what would happen if cell phone reception went down, Wi-Fi went down? Like what would you do? Our lives are very, very dependent on that. So even just taking that away, what would life look like? I mean, seriously. I don't know. But and don't be fooled. I'm not calling for, I'm not really even calling for anything. I'm just showing you what this market has done and the concerns there, right? Will it do it? We're going to find out together. But I'm not trying to create any type of panic to say this is going to be the 3-year negative 80-something% fall in the stock market. These processes can go very slow. It could take 30 years. It could take a long time in that event. Yeah. Kale says, can I get an awesome shout out for my friend Cheyenne? Well, I don't know what's awesome, but hi, Cheyenne. Kale says, hello. Let me try that again. Hey, I just want to give out an awesome shout out for Cheyenne, your friend. Dang it. Hey, I just want to give an awesome shout out for Cheyenne. Your friend Kale says hi. There we go. Andy Philpott gifted 20 BCB memberships. Andy, thank you, sir. I appreciate it, man. And so should everybody in the chat who just got bombarded with their names into the green. Thank you, Andy. Wesley says, Andy P, you really are the man. BCB, thanks again for what you have, for what you do. Have a Merry Christmas and a peaceful New Year. Shout out from the OG 702. Wesley, thank you very much. Remember 5 months, brother. Thank you. All right, guys. So there we go. We're now we're at an hour on the button. So there we go. We're going to go ahead and start getting into the wrap up of this thing. Keep an eye out for a video today. We'll get it out there in the next couple of hours. Otherwise, this was posted over there on Friday. Grand work of the year put here on Substack. There's a link in the description of the live stream. There's a link right there in the live chat right now. Otherwise, guys, I hope you had a wonderful weekend as we get ready for the holiday season. I hope that you all just take a moment to appreciate it. I hope that you have family that you can love and spend some time with. Yeah, this time rules, man. All right, before we get all weird. All right, guys, that's it. I'm wrapping it up. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for all the support, you guys. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and we'll be here for a shortened week, but we'll be here every day until Wednesday, and then I'll sail off into the sunset till the next week. That's going to be it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you could, please like this live stream and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice, and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.